you so much for waiting in line. Your day is about to get even more cooler because this is it's going to be a great panel. Is most people day one here? Who was here yesterday at Toronto Comicon? Awesome. I hope you're having a great one. It's my pleasure. It's probably my favorite part of my gig, actually, at Inner Space, to get to do conventions like this, and especially to get to moderate panels like this one with two people whose work you look up to so much. So we've got about 45 minutes. Let's waste no time and let's get them out here. Between them, these guys have an amazing list of credits on the big screen, the small screen, the stage, everything from Goonies to Master and Commander, Far Side of the World, to Rudy, the Seed of Chucky, to 24, to Macbeth, Shakespeare's Macbeth. The list goes on and on and on. But it's likely that you also know them from their roles in a little trilogy called The Lord of the Rings. AKA Sean Astin and Billy Boyd. Have a seat, fellas. Want to grab that one next one? Or this one, whichever you like. All right. Hey fellas, welcome to Toronto. Billy, your first Canadian convention, right?
I think yes.
Woo!
I like it. I like the people. It's freezing. Not right now, it's not. They said it was even colder last week. I don't know.
That's right. At least it wasn't raining.
At least it wasn't raining. Somebody's trying to take the mickey out of my accent.
I'm not, it's the same, right?
Welcome to the Polar Vortex. So we're going to open the floor to audience questions in just a second, so toss up your hand and we will try to get to you. But fellas, first I want to ask you, Return of the King came out 2003, so it's just over 10 years now, just over a decade. Does it continue to surprise and gratify you, the ongoing fandom around that original trilogy? Like when you come to cons like this and see how your presence impacts people?
I said to Billy during the photo ops, I said, because people come in dressed as, raise your hand if you're dressed as Frodo right now. There's one. Sam? Anybody dressed as Sam? None. Okay. There you go. So I just said, what happens if, 3 years from now, nobody dresses as Sam? Nobody dresses as Frodo? Just ends, I don't know, what would we do?
Well, then we would just dress up.
Frodo lives.
When you guys were making the trilogy, did you have a sense that it would have the impact that it has? Obviously, it's based on a well-loved work, but did you have a sense that the films would connect and kind of have the cultural impact that they have, even a decade later?
No, we honestly didn't. I think we all tried to make the best films that we could, but seriously, they could have went straight to DVD. There wasn't any feeling that these were going to be huge, or that, and fantasy wasn't a big genre. There wasn't really big fantasy movies, So, when we got to go with the Oscars and stuff, then all that stuff was a real surprise, I think.
I think I felt like it might be big, but big to me meant, like a big opening weekend.
Right.
So I don't, there's no way to, I didn't know about conventions and stuff back then. I think Comic-Con was something I was loosely aware of, Harry Knowles or something,
Right.
But Ain't It Cool News, but no, there would have been no way to conceptualize this, this room full of people.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about getting the parts, about the audition process, and maybe the first time the two of you or Dominic and Elijah met?
So the audition, as I understand it, and I might be wrong, was they had a sort of worldwide audition process, so at New York, Los Angeles, London, Sydney, and they narrowed it down through casting directors to maybe 4 people for each part in each city, and then Pete and his partner Fran flew around the world and saw everyone, read for them. They had scenes that were all top secret, and they weren't scenes that were actually in the film, or certainly the Pippin one I did wasn't. And then Yeah, it was that easy. So I read once for the casting director, went on tape and went to New Zealand. And then I met Pete and Fran, and then within a couple of weeks they called up saying, "Do you want to play Pippin?" I said, "Yeah."
Maybe. Mine was a little bit. That's basically my understanding of the process. I had a bit of an advantage because my father, John Astin, the original Gomez in the Addams Family. He had worked for Peter and Fran on the Frighteners, and so he'd spent time in New Zealand, and he'd been through the Weta experience. He played a character called the Judge, who had been dead over 100 years. So they did all this makeup with his jaw hanging off, and he came home. Well, at one point he called me. They were in Peter and Fran's garage, that they had kind of turned into a screening room, and he called with Peter and Fran and Michael J. Fox. They had just watched Rudy, and they were just going on and on about how much they loved the movie and they thought it was wonderful. And this is years and years before Lord of the Rings. So when it came time, when we found out that it was, that it was going and have a chance to audition for it and everything, it was one of the few times in my life where I ever auditioned for something where I felt like there was a fan, there was a friend in the room. So I didn't feel nervous. I felt, anxious because it's so great and you want to be a part of it, but I didn't have that, wanting to prove myself to somebody. I knew they liked me and I knew they liked what I did, so it made it very comfortable. But it seemed just like Billy auditioned, and Victoria Burrows sent then there was video. Now video for kids who are in the room. It's like your computer, only it's separate. So there was what was it? There was like Napster or something we were doing. But anyhow, yeah. So then Peter and Fran came, and interestingly, they then told me that when Fran was giving birth to Katie's older, right? No, Billy's older.
Billy's older.
When they were giving birth when she was giving birth to Billy, their oldest child, they were watching a film that I did when I was 19, where I played a drug addict. It was one of these. It was really dark, and it was called Where the Day Takes You. It was about homeless street kids who were on drugs and stuff. And I'm thinking, that's what you were watching? My wife was playing like pretty music, and so yeah, it was a pretty. But it took time. There was time between auditioning time between hearing about it and auditioning, and then auditioning and waiting, and then the best moment was when they called and they said a new line is asking for quotes, and that's code for you're about to get an offer, because they want to locate the offer within what you normally make as an actor. They don't want to offer you too little, they don't want to offer you too much, so they call for quotes. So you try and jack your quotes up. You're telling me. But that was a thrilling moment. And then I remember I was in a little office, and I'd gotten a little office, and the phone rang, and I had an assistant at that point, and he said there was the name of 3 agents. And whenever, if you don't get the part, one agent who drew the short straw calls to tell you that you didn't get the job. Listen, it's not going forward on this movie or that movie. But I had 3 agents on the phone, so you're like, oh, that's gonna be big. So I remember picking up the phone, and it was like this electricity in my hand. And he goes, how would you like to go down there? They want you to play Sam. And I literally fell on my knees. It's pretty great.
First question from the floor. Hello.
You should have went to that special place with your Frodo.
What? Say it again?
You should have went there with your special...
Oh, you know what I just learned? Okay, here's the thing. Most people in this room know more about Lord of the Rings than I ever will. I read the full books 3 times while we were filming, and every time I would get to a page and I would think, oh, I don't even remember that part. And then I'd read a scene in the script and I'd think, when did that happen? And Elijah, who may or may not have actually read the books to this date, he had an encyclopedic knowledge of every sequence and everything. So, that was it. But I found out that Sam, eventually, after being the mayor of Hobbiton and having 16 children and on, he's one of the only hobbits who's given the privilege, the right to go to the Grey Havens.
Yeah, because he wants to be with his master.
He does. He wants to be with Master Frodo. Yeah. He's got to keep looking after him. Frodo will get up to no good in heaven, too.
Hello, right there. Yes, hi.
Hi. If you had the opportunity to do a film adaptation of any other book of your choice, what would you do?
The question for the folks at the back was if either of the gentlemen could do an adaptation of another book on film, what would it be?
Well, it's funny that you ask. My wife and I have been trying for 8 years to adapt a world-class, best-selling, award-winning piece of children's literature called Number the Stars.
Yes! My favorite, one of my favorite books. I'm a teacher as well, and I recommended that to my students. And they
Well,
love
we
it.
are about to launch a Slated campaign. Slated is the new crowdsourcing platform like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, only it's more like LinkedIn meets Kickstarter, and we're gonna try very hard. We've got some great people involved, and we want to shoot it in Denmark. For those of you who don't know, it's a wonderful little piece about these two 10-year-old girls, and they live in Denmark during the Second World War. And so, Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, who also wrote The Giver.
Yes, that's my second favorite.
That's your second favorite. The Giver is being adapted today. Meryl Streep and Taylor Swift and another wonderful cast of Weinsteins are making that. And so I'm hoping that the sort of new enthusiasm for Lois Lowry's work in the cinema realm will inure to our benefit.
Fantastic.
Did you plant that question, Sean?
I'm in love with you. Thank you very much. Because you can all go online and just help me promote the out of it.
What about you, Billy?
Very good answer, didn't you?
Great expectations.
No, I'd like to do Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky's novel, which I love, or one of Ian F. Banks, you know, his sci-fi movies or his sci-fi books. I'd love to see that as a movie. There's somebody's phone. Can't be in that.
My agent.
On the subject of books, Billy, I read online, and who knows if it's true because it was on the internet, but I did read that as a teenager you worked at a bookbinding company that bound, among other works, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Is that true?
That is true, and we also made the Master and Commander movies, books. So yeah, I used to work in a printers, and we used to print those books. And I never read Lord of the Rings until I did take it on holiday, and I dropped it in the pool.
Before you got the gig? Before I
got it. So I hadn't read it until I got the gig, and then I thought, oh, I better read this now. So then I did read it. Yeah. But yeah, so
you understood it. But
yeah, I did. I skipped some of the songs.
Well, that's ironic that you skipped the song. Can you talk about writing the song for Return of the King?
Yeah. So that song at the that started because of karaoke. Most great stories start with karaoke. And we were out one night and we were singing karaoke, and one of the writers, Philippa, was there, and they thought we need to get more music, more song, more poetry, you know, as Tolkien did in the books and the film. So she said, would you sing a song? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. So they went to Howard Shore, who wrote all the music, to write a song. And then they changed the order of filming. So we were filming that scene in like a week. And Howard Shore obviously was busy writing all the other music for the film. So they said, could you write something? So I wrote a couple of melodies to a Tolkien poem, and went round to Philippa's house, and Pete was there, and played it to them, and they picked one, and then we recorded it like the next week. Yeah, and it was in a room like this because of, you know, it was Minas Tirith, it was huge, so the sound wasn't great, so we had to re-record it, and we re-recorded it in Abbey Road. And I'm a huge Beatles fan. So that was just like, that was a dream come true, you know? It was great.
And lots of great clips of you playing it live online too, Edge of the Night. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another question from the floor at the back. Hello, sir.
So in The Hobbit, I know that Lord of the Rings, they use actual actors to play all the orcs, and I know how in The Hobbit they used CG to get them. So what is exactly your opinion on them kind of cheaping out on that?
You obviously
bloody shame! Yeah. I think sometimes it's better and sometimes it's not. And what I loved about what Peter did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy was he really blended miniatures with CG technology that was cutting edge, you know, being able to see 10,000 people on a range all kind of moving seemingly independent from each other, and then the actual, and then live human beings. And so I liked that blend. And I noticed in the Hobbit movies, I think it's noticeable, but they use both. They use both. What are you gonna do?
The one from the front on the side here, come on.
What is your favorite moment while filming Lord of the Rings?
Question for the folks in the back was the favorite moment while filming the trilogy.
Favorites are really hard as an idea. With my kids, we've kind of adopted a no favorites policy because it's not fair to everything else. You know, we say, well, what made you, what different ways did you feel? You know, what were feelings that are really memorable to you? You know, I mean, it's what favorite is, but my head explodes when you say favorite. I picture instantly like 50 different things. So among them are the ones that last and replay in time. You know, the being on the volcano with Elijah. You know, that, I can't carry it for you, I can't carry you. There was a moment where the first time we got to go up in helicopters and we did the post-Bridge of Khazad-dûm thing when Gandalf died and we were all crying, and it was the first time I saw us, because we got to see the playback afterwards, and it was slow motion, it was these mountains, and we were crying, and that felt really special. My little daughter, Allie, played Eleanor in the last shot of the last scene of the last film, and that's really special, and in the pub with all of us. I mean, there's just this kaleidoscope of things, and one of the coolest things is when something that's kind of passed out of memory is brought back to your attention. A crew member that you see when you're back in New Zealand doing another film 6 years later says, "Oh, do you remember this?" And all of a sudden, all the sights and smells and sounds of that experience just come rushing back at you. And I sometimes worry that when if I'm lucky to be very old and I'm trying to remember my life, I hope I can remember all of them or some of them. That's my favorite.
That was my favourite answer. And I'm not going to top it, so I'm just going to leave that. I'll just soak it in.
Is it true that when you were giving the speech on the side of the volcano about it being springtime soon, that Peter Jackson came up to you and had tears streaming down his face during that speech?
Yeah, one of the most gratifying. The poles of my experience with Peter Jackson directing me was one day when we were doing Shelob. There was a fight sequence with Shelob, which we seemed to do 1,000 times. Sometimes with Jeff Murphy, who was one of the other directors, and sometimes with Peter, and sometimes there was just different directors all the time, and you'd think, nobody's going to even see all this footage. I don't know why we're doing it so many different ways. But Peter came in and we did it, and afterwards I went up to the monitor. Sometimes he would come out, and other times you'd go over to him. And I went over to him, and I looked at him, and he had this kind of, I don't know if he was thinking about something else or if what was going on, but he looked up at me and he just said, "I just didn't believe that." Oh, the most horrifying. I made sure every second of the rest of it, to the best of my ability, that he believed what I was doing. But then the other side of that was when we were on the. I had forgotten about some of the dialogue I got to do, and we woke up at this place called the Powderhorn, or no, it was the Chateau. Remember the Chateau? The Chateau up on the kind of up Mount Ropehu, where there's a golf course out in front of it, kind of a rich person sort of golf course. They said it was haunted. I'm pretty sure this happened.
I remember the Powderhorn.
The Powderhorn was the kind of country ski lodge,
right?
But there was another one, it was this old chateau, like something out of The Shining, that we stayed in for a little bit. It reeked of marijuana when you came in.
That's why
These sides, the script, they give you every day a miniature version of the script that you look just with that day's work in it. And I remember reading it on the way up there and thinking, you know, you sort of I went brain dead with all of the scripts. You know, they would send changes every day, and you end up with a stack like this of all the different, you know, additions and, you know, cuts and edits and everything to the script. And I just stopped reading them. I couldn't keep up because my head was too hard. So I would look at it and say, I'm pretty easy. I'm, you know, Master Frodo. You know, this one day, it's like the great. No. Which one is it? It's Do you remember the springtime? It'll be springtime soon. There'll be sowing barley in the lower fields, and there'll be birds nesting in the hazel thickets, and something about strawberries and cream, and this and I'm reading this, and I'm starting to get both so excited that I get to talk, and that it's this beautiful poetry, and also terrified that I won't remember it. So we got to the kind of halfway house, or three-quarter-way house up the volcano, and I'm just running the lines over and over and over and over and over, and I get Elijah to run the lines. Well, Elijah's just laying there, so he's very nice, and he runs them with me about 1,000 times, and then he looks at me, and I get that it's like, okay, let me do it by myself for a little bit. And so I'm just doing it, and like the whole way, we take this like four-wheel vehicle all the way up, and then you get out and you walk, and everybody's carrying film batteries and everything, because it's a kind of a joint effort, everybody going to the top of the volcano. And I'm just doing the lines over and over and over and over and over again, and they're figuring out how they see us in the foreground, and they've got a blue screen way across the valley, and is that necessary? How are they going to use that? And the next thing you know, it's just about getting dark, and every actor knows that what happens is all the technical stuff is what gets played with all day long, and in the last 2 seconds of the day they go, okay, do the emotional stuff. And it's the stuff that everybody's going to remember for the rest of time, and anybody who ever watches it, and you're like, you got to do it now. And we started doing it, and we did a take of it, and it was the most satisfying thing, and crying was just so easy, because it was, you know, Tolkien has this ability just with certain sounds like home. It's like this like feeling in your chest. It's time to go home, Mr. Frodo. It's the emotion is in the sound, and so we did this poetry, and Peter comes around, and tears are streaming down his face, and I was like, I want to do it again. And finally, it's dark, everybody's left, there's no cameras, and I'm still doing it, you know. Elijah's trying to get up, and I've got him pinned down. Awesome. Right there. How about it?
Me?
Yeah.
Here. This is for Billy, actually. I love doing Space Milkshake, and I want to know if there's going to be another one. And what's your favorite ale?
Space Milkshake.
Yeah.
Yeah, Space Milkshake was great. We made it in Canada.
I loved it.
And in a place that they call Saskatchewan. I don't know if it actually exists. It's cold, and there's a lot of snow, and it's quite flat. Some really good restaurants, and then there's the inside of a spaceship in this room. So we went in there, and then we just played for weeks, just 4 people, and absolutely loved it. It was one of the most fun experiences making a movie because they had this, I think there was a big American TV show that they'd spent, you know, $3 million on this set and cancelled it. So this guy who'd written this Space Milkshake script bought it for $1 or something. Kept it in storage till he got the money to make Space Milkshake, and then they built the whole set in this soundstage. So you went and everything you touched worked. You know, you put on a switch and a light came on and all that. It was great. It was like being Captain Kirk or something. And so we just went in with a script and just had a laugh, you know, just making up stuff. It was like we're putting on a spacesuit, and I was like, maybe it's really hot in a spacesuit. So like my character likes to go in just in his underwear. So I'm just making up stuff, and the director's like, yeah, let's do that. Hey, let's get some underwear. It was just so much fun, and I hope we do another one.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
What's your favorite ale?
My favourite ale? Probably a Guinness. Like, or if I need refreshed, a Tennant's Lager.
Yay!
Which is just an awful beer. But if you just, yay! Somebody's had a couple up the back. It's like, Tennant's Lager! So that's probably, it's quite simple. I don't like it when somebody gives you a beer and they're like, oh, try this, it's strawberries, and I don't want it's warm and it tastes of like elderberries. It's not beer. I don't want, I want a beer that tastes like a beer.
Yeah. And Space Milkshake, if you've never seen it, starring Robin Dunn, it's kind of a who's who of genre. It's really, really excellent. Somebody shouted angrily at the back that I didn't ask them last time. At the back? Hello, gentleman with a frying pan? Could you repeat that loudly, sir?
How was the filming of the chase scene in Fellowship? Like, so many fans from horses.
Oh, the Nashville chase,
And where?
yeah. The Nashville chase in
Oh,
yeah.
it was running. It was a lot of running. There was a lot of feet. I remember Hobbit feet were flying all over the place.
Is that where we end at Buckleberry Ferry?
Yeah.
The horse fell off the dock.
Is that code for something?
That's a drug thing. Do you have any of the horse fell off the dock? No, right now. Cops are looking. No, the horse literally fell, the Black Rider and the stunt guy on it. And the stunt guys had the black thing over their face and the hood up, and it was very, challenging for them to operate a big, massive horse. And the horse fell in the water right off of Buckleberry Ferry there, and it was thrashing about, and it was dangerous. And I remember Greg, was it Greg Bell? Greg, the big stunt guy, punched the horse in the mouth.
And the horse punched them back.
No, and so the horse got sort of, oh, okay, everything's fine, and then they kind of let it out of the mucky thing that was in. The other thing I remember is, I had, his accent is flawless. I'm an American, and so they had to really work with me, and to get a West Country sound, Samwise Gamgee from the Shire, and Roisin Carty and Andrew Jack were the two really fantastic expert dialect coaches that were with us every second. Some of us more than others. Roisin watching and listening to everything I said, and I remember my line in the script, and this is one of the first times I got to say anything, and my line was "get down," and so it was get down, Mr. Frodo, get down. And I remember Roisin coming up to me after one take, and she said, "Sean," she was Irish, "that one went a little bit, get down."
It's more James Brown than Shy. What about one of the two of you right in the front?
Me?
Go for it.
Well, I don't know. Me?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure. I don't want to take
Good-looking
someone's
one.
question. Yeah.
No, she's hot.
I'm 13!
I have daughters, it's fine.
Okay, anyway.
Sir, and then we'll go to you, Matt.
Yeah, all right. I was wondering, do you suppose you could sing that song? Either one.
I've got the song we should sing, but I don't want to. It's one of my favorite songs
Okay.
ever. Genuinely, from my heart, one of my favorite songs. If I had to live in another country other than America, even having been in New Zealand and spent such a great time there, Scotland is a fantasy to go there, but I would choose this country because I like the people, and it's beautiful, and it's well run most of the time. Present municipality excluded. I think just so that we don't go through the whole thing, which would be our respectful thing to do, I'll kind of do this and we'll resolve it after the beginning, but you're going to want to sing with me. Oh, Canada, my home and native land, true patriot love, in our sunset land.
And the young lady, hello.
Hi. I have two questions. First of all, do you ever wish that the Lord of the Rings could come back just for like one more time? And my second question is, if you could play any other characters in the movie besides the Hobbits, who would you play?
Strider. Arwen.
No, I could only read 8 pages of the Silmarillion before my head exploded, so.
Maybe, yeah, in the middle there, hello.
One other thing, you know, when something is so wonderful and it's so meaningful to you and it has an impact on your life, you do feel nostalgic. You do want to hold on to that. You want that good feeling to last. But there's also the natural kind of cycles of life. It's okay. It's okay for something to end. It's okay to be sad a little bit. And then you never know in life when something comes back and it's rekindled for a little. We see each other and it's fun, you know, and you remember a little bit of that time and then that goes away. So don't be afraid of things resolving in your life.
Can I ask really quickly about the tattoos? Obviously, the fellowship got the tattoos, the Elvish word for 9. Where did the idea come from to do that?
Elijah.
I thought, in my head, it was Dom and Vigo. I'm sure they were talking about it. Or they were talking about doing something to try and remember, you know, the time. And then the idea of a tattoo came up. And then there was talk of what it would be. Fellowship, you know, the leaf for a while, and there was all sorts of ideas. And then, you know, the number 9 came up, should it be a 9, and then Elvish 9, and what type of Elvish, and then high Elvish, and a lot going on. But basically, it was just all of us hanging out one Sunday in a tattoo parlour.
Vigo sorted that out.
Yeah.
I remember Sir Ian McKellen, you know, the legendary star of the British stage and this kind of thing, Magneto, I guess. But we're in there, and I was a little bit shocked to see that he would do this. And Elijah had been really, the first I heard about it was Elijah said, we're gonna get tattoos, we're gonna get tattoos. And I never liked the idea of tattoos. And then towards the end, I really wanted it. And my wife, who's a conservative kind of temperament in some respects, gave her assent to it, which was fantastic. And so we go to this tattoo parlor in Wellington, and we're in there, and Ian went first. And I remember he has it on his shoulder, and I remember holding his arm, sitting next to him, and just kind of holding his whole arm to rest it there. And they were doing it, and the tattoo artist was this kind of big guy, sort of receding hairline, but sort of a tough, muscular forehead, and you know, just one of these kind of right out of central casting, big burly tattoo artists. And somebody's asking, how long have you been here? And he said, oh, I've been here since 1963, you know, uninterrupted tattooing service since, you know, 63. And I said, so you're pretty much part of the establishment then, aren't you? You've been here all that time. And he was doing this, and he looked up at me, because I'm on the fringe. I'm like, okay.
And then when he finished tattooing, he said, one more of us, one less of them.
Mm-hmm. and I must say that I didn't know where to get my tattoo until Billy chose to get his on his ankle, the outside of his ankle, and I thought that's the place to get it. So I did mine where I did because you did yours where you did.
Because I just thought it was so much to do with feet, wasn't it? Not thinking that we hadn't finished filming and I still had to glue the feet on to, you know, a weeping sore tattoo. Didn't think that one.
That's right, airbrush did it fine, and then the little rivulets of blood, they sort of dabbled that a little bit. That's not poisonous at all, is it?
We just got a couple minutes left, so we'll blaze through a few more. Hello, right in front. Hey, good to see you.
Hi, I'm so glad you guys are here. I just have a question about the leading ladies that you've acted with. I know in the Goonies, you were with Carrie Green, you had that I had a big crush on her when I was a little kid. So I just wanted to know if there were any actors that you, performed with that you had a crush on.
Any actresses that we played opposite against that we had crushes on? No, honey.
Absolutely not. I kissed Viggo Mortensen.
That is so offensive to me that you say that. It's so offensive because that was towards the end of the movie when you were trying to get us all excited for the Rosie Sam wedding. But Bob Anderson, who was the world-class sword master who had taught Errol Flynn and Douglas Fairbanks, and he did the Star Wars fight and everything else, when we had choreographed this is it coming back to you? We choreographed this fight sequence, and during the 6 weeks of preparation before the start of the film, and we're gonna launch kind of moment. They had this tent there, a lot of people, and he came up and said, "Hey, will you guys do a little bit of the routine?" Because I guess we were quite keen and fun and good at it, and it ended in a kiss, and I liked it. And apparently, maybe I liked it more than somebody else who traded me in for the, scruffy Strider.
I kissed most of the fellowship.
I got to kiss Kate Beckinsale in Click. Hated it.
He brought up Goonies as well. Can I ask what's written on your coffee cup there, Sean? I see somebody's written something.
Yeah. I worked till 6:30 in the morning on Guillermo del Toro's new adaptation of his best-selling vampire trilogy, The Strain, and it's going to be on FX this summer. And we're shooting here in Toronto, and I can tell you that 3 days ago, filming all night outside was like filming on the moon. It was so cold. And the Toronto crew, who always look at the warm-blooded Americans with this kind of sideways glance, like, yeah, it's cold. This is Canada. They had this. Their eyes were wide and they were scared, and it was cold and it hurt. So we shot. I was killing vampires all night tonight, and I finished at 6:30 this morning. So I said, please, coffee, and they put Goonies never say die.
We have to wrap it up, so we probably got time for 2 more, so I'll get one, and then whoever feels like they have the best wrap-up question. Where?
Over in the corner there, Stand up.
In the corner?
Yeah.
Oh, Christy, hey!
Christy? I don't know Christy.
What was the most difficult, most challenging role you ever played?
Most challenging role they've ever played.
What do you think emotionally, physically, psychologically, just in terms of the experience? I mean, it has to be Samwise Gamgee, 100%, no question about it. It was the most, it's the greatest experience of my life. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. If I got hit by a bus today, they'd show Samwise Gamgee on the news, But in terms of physical, mental, spiritual, psychological, kind of, it was rough. It was hard slogging for me on that movie. And 50 First Dates because of the lisp and the pectoral dance. Different story.
I don't know.
The wizard.
Well, that was really cool.
Was it?
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Did you guys see The Witches of Oz? Starring one William Boyd.
Well, that was actually, you're talking about cold, that was a freezing film. Yeah, I think it's things like that. It's not so much character stuff, it's normally external things, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of make things hard. It's always fun.
So he's in that movie playing the scarecrow, right? Were you the
No, I think I'm the
Tin Man.
Yes. I know.
It's a contemporary version-ish, kind of like if Dorothy was in Kansas and she wrote the book of her experience that we all know, and then she went to New York to try and get it published, and The Wicked Witch is her publisher, and it was really fun. And they called me 7, 8, 9 months after they filmed and said, hey, we've added in these little sprites, and they're mischievous, and we're going to put them in there, and do you want to play it? And I was sure, that's great, I love it. Elf ears and feet, can't get enough of that. So and then I go in, it's Billy Boyd, and Billy Boyd is carrying around the little sprite, and he did it with the sort of a green, or whatever it was, your little sack of potatoes, and then they filmed me kind of looking at and they put it together years later, like you didn't know it was going to be me. And
No, and he changed all the lines to be like really cheeky to me. That was good.
That's my favorite sound I've ever made in a movie. In that movie, it's me and Ethan Embry playing these kind of the fools. We're the fools characters, and oh God, what do I say? I say oh right. So every time they say Dorothy's name, it's like poison to our ears. Please don't say her name. I love saying it like that.
Guys, we have to wrap it up. We have time for one more audience question. Who feels like they've got the ultimate epic panel wrap-up question? Does it feel like the ultimate panel wrap-up question? Yeah? Who's most confident? Yeah! You seem good. You're yelling. I think, yeah.
There's a lot of people pointing over there.
Pointing?
Over here.
Yeah? I think we gotta go with the yell. Does it feel like a wrap-up? Okay. It's all you, no pressure.
Hello again. Favorite karaoke song?
Favorite karaoke song? The ultimate panel wrap-up question.
You just can't answer this correctly. There's no correct answer. That's another what's your favourite?
Okay, wait.
500 miles, the Proclaimer.
He's a professional musician, so he gets a little fussy about it. I think,
The Canadian national anthem?
no.
You're very good at that, man.
No, I like Billy Joel. Sometimes you go into a place and Billy Joel is on, and I always liked him when I was a kid.
No, that's the wrong answer.
Wrong answer. Mount Virginia, don't let me wait.
Yeah.
Catholic girls stop much too late. I'm gonna be the one.
Billy, I got